Auxiliary or reserve police officers. Auxiliary or reserve officers are often sworn officers who may have completed some level of police training, depending on the jurisdiction. They may have arrest powers, carry firearms, and perform law enforcement duties, though usually under the supervision of full-time officers, they might assist with traffic control, crowd management, or other tasks that require law enforcement authority. While both citizens on patrol and auxiliary police officers support law enforcement, citizens on patrol volunteers generally have less authority and focus more on community engagement and crime prevention rather than direct law enforcement duties. Yes, citizens on patrol, COP programs are somewhat similar to auxiliary or reserve police officers, but with important differences. Citizens on patrol programs, these are community-based programs where trained volunteers assist local police departments in non-enforcement roles, volunteers typically patrol neighborhoods, report suspicious activities, and help with community outreach, they do not have arrest powers and are not armed, their main role is to serve as extra eyes and ears for the police, helping to deter crime through their presence. Citizens on patrol, COP programs are community-based initiatives that involve volunteers assisting local police departments in various supportive roles. Here's what they typically do. 1. Patrol neighborhoods, COP volunteers patrol neighborhoods, often in marked vehicles or on foot. Their presence helps deter crime by providing a visible reminder that the community is being watched. 2. Report suspicious activity, volunteers are trained to observe and report suspicious activities to law enforcement. They do not intervene directly, but instead notify police officers, who handle any potential criminal activity. 3. Assist with traffic and crowd control, during special events, parades, or emergencies, COP members may assist with directing traffic or managing crowds, helping to ensure public safety. 4. Community outreach, COP programs often involve educating the community about safety, crime prevention, and how to report crimes. Volunteers might distribute information, participate in community meetings, or help with neighborhood watch programs. 7. Support local law enforcement, while COP volunteers do not have law enforcement authority, they play a critical role in supporting police efforts to maintain public safety and build positive relationships between the police and the community. Overall, citizens on patrol programs aim to foster collaboration between the police and the community, enhancing neighborhood safety through volunteer efforts. Whether citizens on patrol COP volunteers can carry security equipment or self-defense weapons depends on the specific rules and regulations of the local COP program and jurisdiction. Here's a general overview. 1. Security equipment, communications tools. COP volunteers typically carry radios or cell phones to communicate with law enforcement or report suspicious activity. Reflective vests are uniforms. They may be provided with uniforms or reflective vests that identify them as COP members. Flashlights and first aid kits. In some programs, volunteers may carry basic safety equipment like flashlights or first aid kits. 4. Community outreach, COP programs often involve educating the community about safety, crime prevention, and how to report crimes. Volunteers might distribute information, participate in community meetings, or help with neighborhood watch programs. 5. Conduct welfare checks, volunteers may check on vulnerable residents, such as the elderly or disabled, to ensure they are safe and have necessary support. 6. Assist in non-emergency situations, COP members might help with tasks like lost child searches, identifying abandoned vehicles, or assisting with logistical support during community events. Yes, if you are a private investigator or a bounty hunter, you can participate in a Citizens on Patrol COP program, provided you meet the eligibility requirements and adhere to the rules of the program. However, there are some important considerations. 1. Eligibility and requirements, background checks. COP programs typically require participants to pass a background check. As a private investigator or bounty hunter, your background and professional experience might be scrutinized more closely to ensure there are no conflicts of interest. Training. You would need to undergo the same training as other COP volunteers, which includes learning how to observe and report suspicious activity, understanding the boundaries of your role, and familiarizing yourself with the legal aspects of the program. 2. Self-defense weapons, firearms. Generally, COP volunteers are not authorized to carry firearms. They are civilians and do not have the same legal protections or training as law enforcement officers. Carrying a firearm would usually be prohibited by the program. Non-lethal weapons. The allowance of non-lethal self-defense tools, such as pepper spray, batons, or personal alarms, varies by program. Some programs may permit volunteers to carry personal self-defense items if they are legally allowed to possess them as civilians in that jurisdiction. Program-specific rules. Some COP programs might have strict rules that prohibit carrying any self-defense weapons to avoid escalation in potentially confrontational situations. Important considerations. Training. If allowed to carry any self-defense tools, COP volunteers would typically receive training on when and how to use them. Liability. Carrying weapons, even non-lethal ones, can introduce legal and safety concerns. Many programs discourage or prohibit it to avoid these risks. Program guidelines. It's essential for volunteers to follow the specific guidelines of their COP program. Volunteers are there to observe and report, not to engage directly in law enforcement activities. Before carrying any security equipment or self-defense weapon as a COP volunteer, it's important to check with the specific program you are involved with to understand what is permitted and what training is required. 4. Liability and legal considerations. Legal boundaries. Participating in COP as a private investigator or bounty hunter requires careful attention to legal boundaries. You must act strictly within the role of a COP volunteer, and not use your position for any professional investigative or enforcement activities. Liability. Misusing your COP role could expose you to legal liabilities, both personally and professionally. 5. Ethics and professional conduct. Ethical standards. Maintaining high ethical standards is essential. Any appearance of using your COP role to benefit your private work could damage your credibility and result in your removal from the program. In summary, while private investigators and bounty hunters can join COP programs, they must carefully separate their professional duties from their volunteer role, adhere strictly to program rules, and avoid any conflicts of interest. 2. Conflict of interest. Separation of roles. As a COP volunteer, your role is to support the community and assist law enforcement in a non-enforcement capacity. This role is very different from the duties of a private investigator or bounty hunter, who may engage in investigative or apprehension activities. Avoiding conflicts. It's crucial to keep your COP activities separate from your work as a private investigator or bounty hunter. Using your COP position to gather information or further your professional work would likely be a violation of the program's rules. 3. Rules on carrying weapons. Weapon restrictions. As a COP volunteer, you would need to follow the specific rules of the program regarding carrying weapons or self-defense tools, even if you are licensed to carry a firearm or other weapons in your professional capacity. Yes, as a citizens on patrol, COP volunteer, you have the right to defend yourself if you are faced with a situation that threatens your safety. However, there are important guidelines and limitations to consider. 1. Primary role. Observe and report. The main responsibility of COP volunteers is to observe and report suspicious activities to law enforcement, not to intervene directly. The goal is to avoid confrontation whenever possible. 2. De-escalation first. COP programs often emphasize the importance of avoiding confrontation and using de-escalation techniques. If a situation appears to be escalating, the best course of action is typically to remove yourself from the situation and notify law enforcement immediately. 3. Self-defense rights. Basic self-defense. You have the right to defend yourself using reasonable force if you are under immediate threat. This means using only the amount of force necessary to protect yourself from harm. Proportional response. The level of force you use must be proportional to the threat you are facing. Using excessive force can lead to legal consequences. 4. Program-specific guidelines. No weapons policy. Many COP programs have strict rules against carrying weapons, even for self-defense. If you are not allowed to carry weapons, you would need to rely on nonviolent self-defense techniques or tools like personal alarms, reporting incidents. If you do need to defend yourself, you should report the incident to your COP program coordinator and law enforcement as soon as possible. Provide a clear and honest account of what happened. 6. Training, self-defense training. Some COP programs may offer or recommend basic self-defense training. This training can help you learn how to protect yourself while minimizing the risk of escalating a situation. In summary, while you do have the right to defend yourself as a COP volunteer, it's crucial to prioritize safety, avoid confrontation, and follow your program's specific guidelines. If you find yourself in a dangerous situation, the best course of action is usually to withdraw and call for law enforcement assistance. 5. Legal considerations, state laws. The laws regarding self-defense vary by state. It's important to understand the self-defense laws in your area, especially as they relate to non-law enforcement personnel like COP volunteers. Potential liability. Even in self-defense, there is always a risk of legal liability if someone is injured or if the response is deemed excessive. Knowing and following the program's guidelines can help mitigate this risk. 2. Non-emergency situations, lost or confused individuals. If someone is lost or needs non-emergency assistance, you can help by guiding them to safety, giving them directions, or helping them contact the appropriate authorities. For example, if a child is lost, you can stay with the child and contact local law enforcement. Reporting issues. If someone approaches you to report suspicious activity or a non-emergency problem, you should document the details and report the information to the police or your COP program coordinator. As a Citizens on Patrol, COP volunteer, if someone approaches you for help, your ability to assist them will depend on the nature of the situation and the guidelines of your COP program. Here's how you might handle different scenarios. 1. Emergency situations, immediate danger. If someone is in immediate danger or requires urgent medical attention, your first responsibility is to call 911 and request assistance from law enforcement or emergency services. You can provide basic first aid if you are trained, but your primary role is to ensure that professional help arrives as quickly as possible. Stay with the person. If it's safe to do so, stay with the person until help arrives. Provide reassurance and keep them calm. 3. Situations beyond your scope, not law enforcement. Remember, as a COP volunteer, you are not a law enforcement officer. If the situation involves criminal activity or potential violence, your role is to observe, report, and ensure your own safety, not to intervene directly. Referral to authorities. In cases where the person's need exceeds what you can provide, e.g., legal advice, domestic disputes, direct them to the appropriate authorities or resources, such as the police, social services, or a community help center. 4. Program guidelines, follow protocols. Always follow the specific guidelines and protocols of your COP program. Some programs may have clear instructions on how to handle requests for help and what steps to take in various scenarios. Liability concerns. Be mindful of potential liability issues. Acting outside the scope of your role can lead to unintended consequences, so it's important to stay within the boundaries set by your COP program. 2. Following instructions, collaboration. While you should cooperate with police officers and follow their instructions during joint activities, your role is different from that of a sworn officer. You should adhere to the guidelines set by your COP program. Respect for authority. When working in a situation where law enforcement is present, it's generally advisable to respect their authority and follow reasonable instructions they provide related to the task at hand. 3. Limitations on authority, not law enforcement. Remember that you do not have the same authority as police officers. You should not take enforcement actions or make arrests. If police officers ask you to assist in a specific way that is outside the scope of your training or role, it's important to communicate your limitations. Safety first. Your safety and the safety of others should always be your priority. If you are in a situation where following an officer's instruction could put you in danger, assess the situation carefully and prioritize your well-being. As a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, your role is to support law enforcement, but it's important to understand the nature of your relationship with police officers. 1. Support role, COP volunteers work alongside law enforcement agencies to assist with community safety efforts, but they are not law enforcement officers themselves. Your primary function is to observe, report, and assist in non-enforcement activities. 5. Communication, contacting authorities. Keep your communication with law enforcement clear and concise. If you help someone in distress, ensure that the relevant authorities are informed and take over the situation as needed. In summary, as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, you can help people who approach you, but your actions should align with the program's guidelines and your role as a community support volunteer. In emergencies, your priority is to get professional help involved, while in non-emergencies, you can provide assistance or guidance within the limits of your training and authority. Yes, Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteers can respond to non-emergency calls, but how they do so depends on the specific guidelines of their program and the nature of the situation. Here are some key points to consider. 1. Nature of non-emergency calls, general assistance. Non-emergency calls may include situations like assisting a lost person, reporting suspicious activity that does not pose an immediate threat, or helping with community events, routine reporting. COP volunteers can help by gathering information or providing details to law enforcement about non-urgent matters. 4. Program guidelines, adhere to COP protocols. Always follow the specific guidelines and protocols of your COP program. These guidelines outline what is expected of you and how to interact with law enforcement effectively. Training. Your training should prepare you for situations where you may need to work with police. If you have questions or concerns about how to handle specific scenarios, discuss them with your program coordinator. 5. Communication, clear dialogue. Maintain open lines of communication with law enforcement officers when working together. If there's uncertainty about what is expected of you, don't hesitate to ask for clarification. In summary, while COP volunteers should cooperate with law enforcement and follow reasonable instructions, it's essential to understand your role as a community support volunteer. You should operate within the scope of your training and program guidelines, always prioritizing safety and communication. 2. Guidelines and training, program-specific protocols. Each COP program has its own guidelines regarding how volunteers should respond to non-emergency calls. Volunteers should familiarize themselves with these protocols and follow them accordingly. Training. Volunteers typically receive training on how to handle various situations, including how to assess whether a call is non-emergency and what actions to take. 4. Limitations of authority, non-enforcement role. As COP volunteers, you are not law enforcement officers and do not have arrest powers or the authority to intervene in situations that require law enforcement action. Safety first. Your safety and the safety of others should always be the priority. If you encounter a situation that feels unsafe or beyond your capabilities, it's essential to back away and seek help from law enforcement. 5. Documentation and reporting, report incidents. After responding to a non-emergency situation (COP), volunteers should document the incident and report it to their program coordinator or law enforcement for record keeping and follow-up. In summary, Citizens on Patrol volunteers can respond to non-emergency calls, but they should do so within the framework of their program's guidelines, prioritize safety, and maintain clear communication with law enforcement. 3. Cooperation with law enforcement, communication. When responding to non-emergency situations (COP), volunteers should communicate with law enforcement to ensure that they are aware of the situation and can take appropriate action if needed. Support role. Volunteers serve as additional eyes and ears for law enforcement. If a situation escalates or becomes an emergency, they should contact law enforcement immediately. In summary, while you can help deal with car accidents as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, your actions should focus on ensuring safety, calling for professional help, and providing basic assistance within your training and abilities. Always prioritize your safety and follow the guidelines of your COP program. As a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, you may encounter situations involving car accidents and injured individuals, but your role in these situations is generally limited. Here's how to approach these scenarios. 1. Safety first. Assess the situation. Before approaching an accident scene, ensure it is safe to do so. Look for potential hazards, such as oncoming traffic or fire. 2. Calling for help. Contact emergency services. If you come across a car accident, your first action should be to call 911 or notify law enforcement. They can dispatch emergency medical services, EMS, to provide the necessary care for any injured individuals. 3. Providing assistance, basic first aid if trained. If you are trained in first aid or CPR, you may provide basic assistance to injured individuals while waiting for emergency services to arrive. This could include helping them stay calm, reassuring them, or performing CPR if necessary and if you are certified to do so. Avoid untrained interventions. If you are not trained in first aid, it is best not to attempt to move injured individuals or provide medical assistance, as this could worsen their injuries. 4. Securing the scene, traffic control. If it's safe and within the guidelines of your COP program, you might assist with traffic control by directing vehicles away from the accident scene to prevent further collisions. However, your safety is paramount, so be cautious. Gathering information. You can help by gathering information from witnesses or those involved in the accident to provide to law enforcement when they arrive. 5. Follow program protocols, adhere to guidelines. Always follow the specific guidelines set by your COP program regarding how to handle accidents. Each program may have different policies on how to respond to emergencies. Report the incident. After the incident, report what you observed and any assistance you provided to your program coordinator and law enforcement. 6. Know your limitations. Not a first responder. Remember that as a COP volunteer, you are not a first responder or a law enforcement officer. Your primary role is to support the community and assist law enforcement, not to take charge of emergency situations. Yes, as a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, you can engage in activities related to neighborhood non-emergencies to help people. Here are some ways you can assist your community in non-emergency situations. 1. Community engagement, Neighborhood Watch. Participate in or help establish a Neighborhood Watch program, where residents can work together to keep an eye on each other's properties and report suspicious activities. 4. Support during events, community events. Help organize or participate in community events, such as block parties, cleanup days, or safety fairs. This promotes community engagement and helps foster relationships among residents. Crowd control. Assist law enforcement during public events by helping with crowd management or directing attendees, ensuring safety and organization. 5. Building relationships, fostering trust. Build relationships with local residents to encourage open communication about safety concerns and community issues. Be present. Simply being visible in your neighborhood can deter crime and reassure residents that someone is looking out for their safety. Public safety education. Conduct informational sessions on crime prevention, safety tips, and community resources. Share knowledge about local laws and how to report issues. 2. Assisting residents, helping lost individuals. Assist people who may be lost or confused by providing directions, or helping them contact friends or family. Check on vulnerable residents. Offer to check on elderly or disabled residents in your neighborhood, ensuring they have the support they need. 3. Reporting issues, non-emergency situations. Report non-emergency issues, such as vandalism, graffiti, abandoned vehicles, or suspicious activity, to local law enforcement or community organizations. Traffic concerns. Monitor traffic patterns or unsafe driving in your area and report them to authorities for potential intervention. F. As a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, you do not have the authority to issue tickets or citations, even if you observe someone violating traffic laws or parking regulations. Here's how you should handle situations involving license plates and potential violations. 1. Observe and document, note details. You can take note of license plates, descriptions of vehicles, and any specific actions that seem to violate traffic laws or regulations. This information can be useful when reporting to law enforcement. Safety first. Ensure your safety while documenting information. Avoid confronting drivers or putting yourself in potentially dangerous situations. 2. Reporting violations. Contact law enforcement. Instead of issuing a ticket yourself, you should report the observed violation to local law enforcement. Provide them with the details you collected, including license plate numbers, descriptions, and the nature of the violation. Non-emergency line. If the situation is non-urgent, you can contact the local police department's non-emergency line to report the issue. 3. Understanding your role. Support role. Your role as a COP volunteer is to support the community and law enforcement by observing and reporting issues rather than taking enforcement actions yourself. No authority to ticket. Only law enforcement officers have the authority to issue citations or tickets for violations. Attempting to do so could lead to legal issues for you and may undermine the authority of law enforcement. 6. Program guidelines. Follow program policies. Always adhere to the guidelines and policies of your COP program regarding what activities you can engage in and how to interact with residents and law enforcement. Documentation. Keep records of your activities and any reports you make to ensure accountability and transparency. In summary, as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, you can help with various neighborhood non-emergency situations to improve community safety and engagement. Your role is to observe, report, and assist, fostering a sense of safety and community within your area. 4. Follow program guidelines. Adhere to protocols. Always follow the specific guidelines of your COP program regarding how to handle observed violations and what actions you are permitted to take. Training. If you have questions about your responsibilities or how to handle specific situations, seek guidance from your program coordinator or participate in training opportunities. In summary, while you can document license plates and report violations as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, you do not have the authority to issue tickets or take enforcement actions. Your role is to observe and support law enforcement in maintaining community safety. Starting a Youth on Patrol COP program can be a great way to engage young people in community safety and promote positive relationships. Here's a step-by-step guide to help you get started. 1. Identify goals and objectives. Define purpose. Determine the main objectives of the youth group, such as promoting community involvement, teaching safety skills, or engaging in volunteer activities. Activities. Consider what activities the group will participate in, such as community service projects, safety workshops, or social events. 2. Gather support. Collaborate with local organizations. Reach out to local schools, youth organizations, or community centers to gain support and resources for your group. Engage law enforcement. Involve local law enforcement or your COP program in your plans. They may provide guidance, resources, or even officers who can help facilitate discussions about safety and crime prevention. 3. Recruit members. Promotion. Use social media, local schools, community boards, and word of mouth to promote the youth group and encourage participation. Inclusive approach. Ensure that the group is welcoming to all youth in the community, regardless of their background or experience. 4. Organize meetings. Schedule regular meetings. Set a consistent schedule for meetings, whether weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. Choose a convenient location, such as a community center, library, or school. Create an agenda. Prepare an agenda for each meeting that includes discussion topics, planned activities, and opportunities for members to share their ideas. 5. Plan activities. Community service projects. Organize activities that benefit the community, such as neighborhood cleanups, safety workshops, or fundraising events for local charities. Educational workshops. Consider inviting guest speakers from law enforcement, first responders, or community leaders to educate youth about safety, crime prevention, and civic engagement. 6. Foster leadership. Empower youth. Encourage members to take on leadership roles within the group, such as organizing events, leading discussions, or representing the group at community meetings. Skill development. Provide opportunities for youth to develop leadership skills, teamwork, and communication abilities. 7. Maintain communication, regular updates. Keep members informed about upcoming events, meetings, and activities through newsletters, social media, or group messaging platforms. Feedback loop. Encourage feedback from members about their interests, concerns, and ideas for future activities. 8. Evaluate and adapt. Assess progress. Periodically evaluate the group's activities and impact on the community. Gather input from members on what's working and what could be improved. Be flexible. Be open to adapting the group's focus and activities based on members' interests and community needs. 9. Celebrate achievements. Recognize contributions. Celebrate the accomplishments of the group and its members, whether through awards, recognition events, or showcasing their efforts in community publications. By following these steps, you can successfully start and grow a youth group within your Citizens on Patrol program, fostering engagement and promoting positive community involvement among young people. The Citizens on Patrol app is a mobile application designed to support community policing and enhance public safety through citizen engagement. Here are some key features and functionalities typically associated with such an app. 1. Reporting suspicious activity. Users can quickly report suspicious activities or incidents to local law enforcement. This feature often includes options to upload photos, videos, or details about the situation. 2. Community alerts. The app may provide real-time alerts about local incidents, emergencies, or safety concerns, keeping users informed and aware of their surroundings. 3. Safety resources. Users can access safety tips, resources, and educational materials related to crime prevention, personal safety, and community engagement. 4. Neighborhood watch features. Some versions of the app may include tools for organizing neighborhood watch groups, facilitating communication among members, and sharing updates or information. 5. Crime mapping. The app may feature crime mapping tools that allow users to view recent crime reports and trends in their area, helping them stay informed about local safety issues. 6. Events and activities. Users can find information about community events, meetings, or activities related to crime prevention and public safety. 7. Communication with law enforcement. The app may facilitate communication between citizens and local law enforcement, enabling users to ask questions, share concerns, or provide feedback. 8. Volunteer opportunities. Users may be able to find and sign up for volunteer opportunities related to community safety and engagement. 9. Anonymous reporting. The app may allow for anonymous reporting of crimes or suspicious activities, encouraging more people to come forward without fear of retribution. Conclusion. The Citizens on Patrol app aims to empower community members by providing them with tools and resources to actively participate in keeping their neighborhood safe. For specific details about features and availability, it's best to check with local law enforcement agencies or the App Store for the specific version used in your area. 2. Report to law enforcement. Contact the police. After documenting the details, contact local law enforcement to report the speeding incident. You can provide them with the information you collected, including the license plate number, non-emergency line. If the situation is not urgent, you can call the police department's non-emergency line to report the violation. 3. Understand your role. Observation and reporting. Your role as a COP volunteer is to observe and report, not to take enforcement actions. Only law enforcement officers have the authority to issue citations or tickets. Avoid confrontation. Never attempt to stop or confront a speeding vehicle yourself, as this could lead to dangerous situations. As a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, you can take down the license plate of a speeding vehicle and report it to law enforcement, but you do not have the authority to write them up or issue tickets. Here's how you should handle this situation. 1. Document the incident. License plate in details. If you observe someone speeding, note the vehicle's license plate number, make and model, color, and the time and location of the incident. Safety first. Ensure your safety. While documenting, do not attempt to confront the driver or put yourself in harm's way. 4. Follow program guidelines. Adhere to COP protocols. Always follow the specific guidelines and protocols of your COP program regarding how to handle traffic violations and interactions with law enforcement. Training. If you have questions about your responsibilities or how to handle specific situations, seek guidance from your program coordinator. In summary, while you can document and report speeding incidents as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, you do not have the authority to write tickets or take enforcement actions. Your role is to support law enforcement by providing information to help maintain community safety. 1. Communication. Stay connected. Walkie-talkies can help you stay in touch with other volunteers or law enforcement officers, allowing for quick communication in case of emergencies or important observations. Immediate reporting. They enable you to report incidents or request assistance immediately, which can be crucial in emergency situations. 2. Coordination. Team coordination. If you are patrolling with a team, walkie-talkies help coordinate activities, share information about your locations, and keep everyone informed about any developments. Safety checks. You can use walkie-talkies to check in with team members and ensure everyone's safety during patrols. Yes, as a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, carrying walkie-talkies or radios for communication during patrols or community events is often encouraged for safety and coordination. Here are some key points regarding the use of walkie-talkies in this role. 3. Equipment guidelines. Follow COP policies. Always adhere to the specific guidelines of your COP program regarding the use of communication equipment. Some programs may have policies about the types of devices that can be used. Training on use. Make sure you are trained on how to properly use the walkie-talkies, including understanding protocols for communication. 4. Legal considerations. Compliance with regulations. Ensure that the use of walkie-talkies complies with local laws and regulations regarding communication devices, especially if they operate on specific frequencies. 5. Emergency preparedness. Preparedness plans. Incorporate the use of walkie-talkies into your emergency preparedness plans. Know how to use them effectively in various scenarios, including emergencies. In summary, carrying walkie-talkies as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer is beneficial for communication and coordination, especially during patrols and community events. Just be sure to follow your program's guidelines and training regarding their use. 2. Safety considerations. Safety equipment. If riding in a vehicle, ensure that safety equipment, such as seat belts, is used at all times. Follow protocols. Adhere to any safety protocols established by your COP program while in transit. 3. Training. Training requirements. Some programs may require volunteers to undergo specific training before riding in a vehicle or participating in patrols. Make sure you complete any necessary training before getting in a truck or patrol vehicle. 4. Law enforcement coordination. Riding with officers. If you are riding with law enforcement personnel, ensure that you follow their guidance and procedures during the ride. They may have specific protocols for volunteers accompanying them. As a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, whether you can ride in a truck or patrol vehicle depends on the specific policies and guidelines of your COP program and local law enforcement agency. Here are some key points to consider. 1. Program guidelines. Check policies. Different COP programs have varying policies regarding transportation. Check with your program coordinator or local law enforcement to understand the rules about riding in vehicles during patrols. Authorized vehicles. Some programs may only allow volunteers to ride in designated patrol vehicles, while others may permit personal vehicles under certain conditions. 5. Events and activities. Community events. During special community events, such as parades or festivals, there may be opportunities for COP volunteers to ride in vehicles as part of promoting safety or visibility in the community. Again, this would depend on the event's guidelines and your program's policies. In summary, whether you can ride in a truck as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer will depend on your program's specific guidelines, safety protocols, and any training requirements. Always check with your program coordinator for clarity on the rules regarding transportation. If a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer dies while on duty, several protocols and considerations typically come into play. 1. Emergency response. Immediate assistance. First responders. such as law enforcement or medical personnel, would be called to the scene to assess the situation and provide necessary assistance. 5. Recognition and tribute, honoring service. The organization may hold a memorial service or tribute to honor the volunteer's service to the community, awards or honors. Some COP programs or law enforcement agencies may recognize the volunteer posthumously for their commitment and service. 6. Review of policies, safety protocols. The incident may lead to a review of safety protocols and guidelines for volunteers to prevent future incidents, training enhancements. Programs might enhance training for volunteers on how to handle potentially dangerous situations and ensure their safety while on duty. 2. Investigation, circumstantial investigation. There would likely be an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death, especially if it occurred during a patrol or while assisting law enforcement. 3. Notification of family, informing next of kin. Authorities would notify the family or next of kin about the incident in a respectful and timely manner. 4. Support for family, counseling and support. The organization may provide support services, such as counseling, to the family of the deceased volunteer. Funeral assistance. Some programs may offer assistance for funeral arrangements or memorial services. 1. Program policies, volunteer policies. Some COP programs have specific policies regarding volunteer injuries and may provide coverage for medical expenses or compensation in the event of an injury sustained while on duty. It's important to review the specific policies of your program, insurance coverage. Check if the COP program has liability or accident insurance that covers volunteers during their activities. 2. Workers' compensation, eligibility for compensation. In some jurisdictions, volunteers may not be eligible for workers' compensation benefits, as these are typically reserved for paid employees. Some programs might have arrangements that provide similar protections, local laws. The eligibility for workers' compensation or similar benefits can vary based on local laws, so it's essential to understand the regulations in your area. 7. Community impact, community response. The community may come together to support the family and honor the volunteers' contributions, demonstrating solidarity and appreciation for their service. 8. Legal and liability considerations, legal review. Depending on the circumstances, there may be legal considerations regarding liability, especially if the volunteer's death resulted from a specific incident while on duty. In summary, if a citizens on patrol volunteer dies while on duty, it triggers a series of emergency responses, investigations, and support mechanisms to assist the family, honor the volunteer's service, and review safety protocols within the organization. Whether a citizens on patrol (COP) volunteer is covered for injuries sustained while on the job depends on several factors, including the policies of the specific COP program and local laws. Here are key points to consider. 5. Communication with program coordinators, discuss coverage. If you have concerns about coverage or potential injuries, discuss them with your program coordinator or administration to clarify what protections are in place for volunteers. Training on safety. Engage in any available training or safety workshops to minimize the risk of injury while on duty. 6. Legal considerations, consult legal counsel. If you have specific concerns about your rights or coverage related to injuries, it may be beneficial to consult with legal counsel knowledgeable about volunteer protections and local laws. In summary, whether you are covered for injuries sustained while serving as a citizens on patrol volunteer depends on your program's policies and local laws. It's crucial to understand these aspects, report any incidents promptly, and communicate with program coordinators about coverage and support options. 3. Reporting incidents, documenting injuries. If you get hurt while on duty, it's crucial to document the incident thoroughly and report it to your program coordinator or supervisor as soon as possible. Follow procedures. Adhere to any reporting procedures established by your COP program to ensure that your injury is properly recorded. 4. Seek medical attention, immediate care. If injured, seek appropriate medical attention promptly. Your health and safety should be the priority. The benefits of being a citizens on patrol. COP volunteer can vary significantly depending on the specific program and local law enforcement agency. Here are some common benefits that may be associated with participating in a COP program. 1. Community engagement, positive impact. Volunteers have the opportunity to contribute positively to their community by helping to enhance safety and security. 2. Training and education, skill development. Many COP programs provide training in areas such as crime prevention, emergency response, first aid, and effective communication, which can be valuable skills for personal and professional development. 3. Networking opportunities, connections. Volunteers often build relationships with law enforcement professionals, community leaders, and other volunteers, which can lead to networking opportunities and community involvement. 4. Personal satisfaction, fulfillment. Many volunteers find personal satisfaction in serving their community and being part of a proactive approach to crime prevention and public safety. 5. Recognition, awards and honors. Some programs offer recognition for volunteers' efforts, such as awards, certificates, or public acknowledgement during community events. 6. Community resources, access to resources. Volunteers may gain access to resources, information, and tools that can enhance their ability to contribute to community safety. 7. Uniforms and equipment, provided gear. Some COP programs provide uniforms, badges, or other identification that can help volunteers feel more connected to their role and improve visibility in the community. 8. Emergency preparedness, preparedness training. Volunteers may receive training on how to respond to emergencies, helping them to be better prepared for various situations. 9. Social activities, community events. Many programs organize social events, community gatherings, and team-building activities for volunteers, fostering camaraderie and community spirit. 10. Insurance coverage, potential coverage. Some programs offer insurance coverage for volunteers while they are on duty, which can provide peace of mind regarding liability and injuries. Conclusion: while the specific benefits can vary, participating in a Citizens on Patrol program can provide valuable training, opportunities for community engagement, personal fulfillment, and recognition. It's important to check with your local COP program to understand the specific benefits and resources they offer to volunteers. Whether Citizens on Patrol (COP), volunteers can use amber lights, also known as warning lights, on their vehicles depends on local laws and the policies of the specific COP program. Here are some key points to consider. 1. Local laws, legal regulations. Many jurisdictions have specific laws governing the use of emergency lights on vehicles. In some areas, only authorized emergency vehicles, such as police, fire, and ambulance services, are allowed to use flashing lights. Consult local ordinances. It's essential to consult local traffic laws and ordinances to determine if volunteers can use amber lights on their personal or patrol vehicles. Program policies, COP program guidelines. Each Citizens on Patrol program may have its own policies regarding the use of amber lights. Some programs may allow volunteers to use them to enhance visibility while on patrol, while others may not permit their use at all. Training and authorization. If the use of amber lights is allowed, volunteers may need to complete training or obtain authorization from program coordinators or local law enforcement. 3. Purpose of amber lights, visibility and safety. Amber lights are typically used to enhance the visibility of a vehicle and indicate a presence in a community, especially during patrols or community events. 4. Equipment standards, proper equipment, if allowed, ensure that any amber lights used comply with local regulations regarding brightness, placement, and operation. 5. Emergency situations, response protocols. Even if amber lights are used, volunteers should always follow proper protocols for responding to emergencies and avoid acting in a capacity that may be confused with law enforcement. Conclusion: in summary, the use of amber lights by Citizens on Patrol volunteers is subject to local laws and the specific policies of the COP program. It's crucial to check with your local authorities and program coordinators for guidance on whether and how amber lights can be used. As a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, you may be able to assist people on the side of the road, but there are important considerations to keep in mind. 1. Safety first, personal safety. Ensure your safety and the safety of others. Approach the situation carefully, especially if it involves traffic. Always be aware of your surroundings and wear appropriate safety gear, if available. Assess the situation. Determine if it is safe to stop and assist. If traffic is heavy or the situation appears dangerous, it may be best to contact law enforcement for help instead. 4. Contacting authorities. Call for help. If the situation is beyond your scope of assistance, contact local law enforcement or roadside assistance services to help the individual safely. 5. Documenting incidents. Report any assistance provided. If you assist someone, document the incident and report it to your program coordinator, especially if it involved any safety concerns or if law enforcement was contacted. Conclusion. In summary, as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, you may be able to help people on the side of the road within the guidelines of your program. Always prioritize safety, follow your program's policies, and know your limitations regarding the type of assistance you can provide. 2. Program policies. Follow COP guidelines. Check the specific policies of your Citizens on Patrol program regarding assisting individuals on the road. Some programs may have guidelines on what types of assistance are permitted. Authorized actions. Be clear about your role and what actions you are authorized to take as a volunteer. You may not have the same authority or liability protections as law enforcement. 3. Types of assistance. Limited assistance. You can offer limited assistance, such as providing directions, contacting law enforcement or roadside assistance for them, or helping them call for help. Changing tires. While some programs may allow volunteers to help change a tire, others may advise against it due to safety and liability concerns. Always check your program's policies before providing this type of assistance. The ability to make a citizen's arrest varies by jurisdiction and is subject to specific legal standards. Here are key points to consider regarding citizens' arrests for Citizens on Patrol, COP volunteers. 1. Legal authority. Varied laws. In some jurisdictions, citizens have the right to make an arrest under certain circumstances, such as witnessing a crime in progress, while in others, the rules are more restrictive. No local laws. It's essential to be familiar with the laws in your area regarding citizens' arrests, including what actions are permissible and the legal requirements that must be met. 2. Conditions for citizens' arrest. Witnessing a crime. Generally, you may only make a citizen's arrest if you personally witness a crime being committed. This usually applies to felonies or certain misdemeanors. Immediate action. The arrest should be made immediately after witnessing the crime, and you should have reasonable grounds to believe the person committed the offense. 3. Safety considerations. Prioritize safety. Making a citizen's arrest can be dangerous. It's important to consider your safety and the safety of others before intervening. Avoid confrontation. If the situation seems volatile or potentially dangerous, it may be better to contact law enforcement instead of attempting to detain someone. 4. Contacting law enforcement. Notify authorities. If you believe a crime is being committed, your first step should generally be to contact law enforcement. Provide them with as much information as possible about the situation. Follow instructions. If law enforcement arrives while you are making a citizen's arrest, follow their instructions and cooperate fully. 5. Program policies. COP guidelines. Check with your Citizens on Patrol program for any specific policies regarding citizens' arrests. Some programs may discourage or prohibit volunteers from attempting to make arrests. As a Citizens on Patrol, COP volunteer, patrolling in the water, such as lakes, rivers, or swimming areas, is typically not within the standard responsibilities of COP volunteers. Here are some considerations. Safety. 3. Safety concerns. Risk of water patrols. Patrolling in water can present safety risks, including drowning or other water-related hazards. Volunteers may not be equipped to handle such situations safely. Emergency response. If you observe a situation in the water that requires intervention, the best course of action is to contact local authorities or emergency services. 4. Communication with authorities. Reporting issues. While you may not patrol in the water, you can monitor the area around water bodies and report any safety concerns or incidents to local law enforcement or park authorities. Collaboration. Work collaboratively with any on-site lifeguards or park staff to ensure safety in water areas. 1. Role and responsibilities. Land-based patrols. COP volunteers are generally focused on land-based patrols to help enhance safety and security in their communities, such as parks, neighborhoods, and public events. Limitations. Patrolling in water may require specific training, certifications, and equipment that COP volunteers typically do not possess. 2. Local laws and regulations. Jurisdictional authority. Check local laws and regulations regarding water safety and patrols. Certain areas may have specific agencies responsible for water safety, such as park rangers or lifeguards. Authorized personnel. Water patrols are often conducted by trained professionals, such as lifeguards, Coast Guard, or other specialized law enforcement units. Reporting issues. While you may not patrol in the water, you can monitor the area around water bodies and report any safety concerns or incidents to local law enforcement or park authorities. Collaboration. Work collaboratively with any on-site lifeguards or park staff to ensure safety in water areas. 5. Training requirements. Specialized training. If you are interested in water safety or patrols, consider seeking specialized training and certifications, e.g., lifeguard training, that may allow you to assist in such areas legally and safely. Conclusion. In summary, as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, patrolling in the water is typically not within your role. Your focus should remain on land-based patrols and reporting any concerns to the appropriate authorities. If water safety is a significant concern in your area, consider advocating for trained professionals to monitor those areas. 2. Impact on evidence. Lack of recorded evidence. If an incident occurs where there is no recorded footage, it can complicate investigations, legal proceedings, or complaints against the officer. Credibility issues. The absence of video evidence may affect the credibility of the officer's account of events and may raise questions about their conduct during the interaction. 3. Public perception. Transparency concerns. The lack of body camera footage can lead to public perception issues and distrust in law enforcement, particularly if the incident involves controversial actions or allegations of misconduct. Accountability. Body cameras are often seen as a tool for accountability, and the absence of footage can hinder efforts to ensure proper conduct by officers. If a police officer does not have their body camera or webcam activated while on duty, it can lead to several potential consequences, depending on the policies of the law enforcement agency, the context of the interaction, and local laws. Here are some key points to consider. 1. Policy violations. Internal policies. Most law enforcement agencies have specific policies requiring officers to activate body cameras during interactions with the public, especially during traffic stops, arrests, or any law enforcement activity. Disciplinary action. If an officer fails to activate their body camera as required, they may face disciplinary action from their department, which can include reprimands, additional training, or other consequences. Conclusion. In summary, if a police officer does not have their body camera activated, it can lead to policy violations, complications in evidence gathering, public perception issues, legal ramifications, and potential disciplinary actions. The use of body cameras is intended to enhance transparency and accountability in law enforcement, and failure to use them properly can undermine those goals. 4. Legal ramifications. Possible legal challenges. In some cases, failure to record an interaction may lead to legal challenges, especially if there are claims of misconduct, excessive force, or other allegations. Evidence in court. If a case goes to court, the absence of video evidence could impact the outcome, as both defense and prosecution may rely on available evidence to support their arguments. 5. Training and compliance. Training for officers. Departments often provide training for officers on the proper use of body cameras, including when and how to activate them. Failure to comply with this training may result in further remedial training. Monitoring compliance. Some agencies may implement oversight mechanisms to monitor compliance with body camera policies to ensure that officers follow proper procedures. Whether Citizens on Patrol, COP volunteers must have body cameras depends on the policies of the specific COP program and local law enforcement agency. Here are some considerations regarding body cameras for COP volunteers. 1. Program policies, guidelines for use. Each citizen's on-patrol program may have its own policies regarding the use of body cameras. Some programs may require volunteers to wear them, while others may not. Training requirements. If body cameras are used, volunteers may need training on how to operate them and understand the policies surrounding their use. 2. Purpose of body cameras, accountability and transparency. Body cameras can enhance accountability and transparency during patrols, documenting interactions with the public, and providing evidence in case of disputes or incidents. Evidence collection. Footage from body cameras can be valuable for investigations or when responding to complaints about volunteer actions. 3. Legal considerations, privacy laws. The use of body cameras must comply with local and state privacy laws. Volunteers should be trained on when to activate the cameras and how to handle sensitive situations. Public notification. In some jurisdictions, there may be requirements to inform individuals when they are being recorded. 4. Safety and liability, protection for volunteers. Body cameras can provide protection for volunteers against false accusations or claims of misconduct, as recorded footage can help clarify events. Liability concerns. Programs may have specific insurance or liability considerations related to the use of body cameras by volunteers. 5. Community trust, building trust. The use of body cameras can help build trust between the community and the volunteers, as it demonstrates a commitment to accountability and transparency in community safety efforts. Patrolling in a kayak as a citizens on patrol. COP volunteer may be possible, but it typically depends on several factors, including the specific policies of your COP program, local laws, and safety considerations. Here are some key points to consider. 1. Program policies, guidelines for water patrols. Check with your COP program to see if they allow patrolling in kayaks or other watercraft. Some programs may have specific guidelines regarding water patrols and the types of activities volunteers can engage in. Authorized activities. Ensure that any water patrol activities are authorized by your program and aligned with its mission and objectives. Conclusion. In summary, while body cameras can enhance accountability and transparency for citizens on patrol, volunteers, whether they are required depends on the specific policies of the COP program and local laws. If you are involved in a COP program, it's important to check with your program coordinator regarding the policies and guidelines related to body cameras. 2. Safety training, safety protocols. If kayaking is allowed, volunteers should receive training on water safety, including how to operate the kayak safely, self-rescue techniques, and emergency response protocols. Personal flotation devices, PFDs. Always wear a PFD while kayaking, and ensure that all safety equipment is on board. 3. Local laws and regulations, waterway regulations. Familiarize yourself with local regulations regarding kayaking and water patrols. Some waterways may have specific rules about who can patrol or monitor activities, licensing and permits. In some areas, specific permits may be required for patrols in certain bodies of water. 3. Local laws and regulations, waterway regulations. Familiarize yourself with local regulations regarding kayaking and water patrols. Some waterways may have specific rules about who can patrol or monitor activities, licensing and permits. In some areas, specific permits may be required for patrols in certain bodies of water. 4. Collaboration with authorities, coordinate with local law enforcement. If you plan to patrol in a kayak, coordinate with local law enforcement or park authorities to ensure that you are following proper protocols and are aware of any potential issues. 5. Communication, stay in contact. Use communication devices, such as walkie-talkies or mobile phones, to stay in contact with fellow volunteers or law enforcement while on the water. 6. Purpose of kayak patrols, enhancing safety. Kayak patrols can be an effective way to enhance safety on waterways, monitor activities, and provide assistance to individuals in distress. Environmental monitoring. Depending on the program's focus, kayaking can also serve to monitor environmental issues, such as pollution or wildlife activity. Conclusion. In summary, While patrolling in a kayak as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer may be possible, it depends on the specific policies of your program, safety training, local laws, and collaboration with authorities. Always prioritize safety and ensure that you have the necessary training and equipment before engaging in water patrols. Logging hours as a Citizens on Patrol. COP volunteer typically involves a few standard procedures, although the exact method can vary by program. Here are some common steps you might follow to report your hours. 1. Check program guidelines. Review policies. Familiarize yourself with the specific guidelines of your COP program regarding reporting hours. Each program may have its own procedures. 2. Use a designated log, hour tracking form. Many programs provide a form or log sheet where volunteers can record their hours. This may be a physical form or a digital spreadsheet. Include relevant details. When logging hours, include details such as the date, duration of your patrol, location, and any specific activities performed. 5. Use of technology, online tracking systems. Some programs may utilize online systems or mobile apps for volunteers to log their hours digitally. If your program offers this, familiarize yourself with how to use the platform, track time in real time. If using an app or digital tool, log your hours in real time during or immediately after your shift to ensure accuracy. 6. Record additional activities, document special events. If you participate in special events or training sessions outside regular patrol hours, make sure to log those hours separately if permitted. 7. Verify accuracy, double-check entries. Before submitting, review your entries for accuracy to ensure all hours are accounted for and correctly recorded. 3. Submit hours regularly, set submission schedule. Check if your program has a regular schedule for submitting hours, weekly, monthly, etc., and adhere to it. Use official channels. Submit your hours through the designated channels specified by your program, whether that's a program coordinator, an online portal, or a specific email address. 4. Communication with supervisors, report to coordinators. Keep in touch with your program coordinators or supervisors to ensure that your hours are being recorded accurately and to discuss any discrepancies. Conclusion. In summary, to log your hours as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, follow your program's specific guidelines for reporting, use designated logs or online systems, and maintain clear communication with program coordinators. Properly documenting your hours is essential for recognition, accountability, and program administration. 2. Privacy and consent, informed consent. When recording interactions with the public, it's important to consider privacy laws. In many jurisdictions, individuals must be informed they are being recorded and consent may be required. Avoid sensitive situations. Be cautious about recording in situations that involve sensitive information or where individuals may have an expectation of privacy. 3. Purpose of recording, training and improvement. Recording your activities can be a useful tool for self-assessment and improvement, but it should be done within the guidelines set by your program. Documentation. If allowed, recordings can serve as documentation for patrol activities, incidents, or community interactions. 4. Legal considerations, know the laws. Familiarize yourself with local laws regarding audio and video recording. Some areas have strict laws governing the recording of conversations or interactions without consent. Use for evidence. If the recordings are intended for use as evidence in any disputes or incidents, ensure you follow all legal and program guidelines. 5. Safety concerns, focus on duties. Ensure that recording does not distract from your primary responsibilities as a COP volunteer. Always prioritize safety and effective communication. 6. Report to supervisors, communicate your intent. If you plan to record your activities, inform your program coordinator or supervisor to ensure compliance with program policies. Whether Citizens on Patrol COP volunteers can record themselves while on duty depends on several factors, including program policies, local laws, and privacy considerations. Here are some key points to consider. 1. Program policies, check with coordinators. It's essential to check the specific policies of your COP program regarding recording activities. Some programs may allow volunteers to record their activities for training or documentation purposes, while others may have restrictions. Authorized equipment. If recording is permitted, find out what types of recording equipment are authorized and how it should be used. Conclusion. In summary, while recording yourself as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer may be possible, it is crucial to adhere to program policies, respect privacy laws, and communicate with your supervisors. Always prioritize the safety and effectiveness of your patrol duties while considering the implications of recording. 2. Privacy and consent. Informed consent. If your videos include interactions with the public, you must ensure that individuals know they are being recorded and, in many cases, obtain their consent. Avoid sensitive situations. Be cautious about recording and sharing footage that may involve sensitive topics or individuals in vulnerable situations. 3. Legal considerations. Local laws. Familiarize yourself with local laws regarding recording conversations and interactions. Some jurisdictions require consent from all parties involved in a recorded conversation. Liability issues. Be aware that posting videos publicly could lead to legal challenges if individuals featured in the videos feel their privacy has been violated. Recording yourself as a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer and posting the footage on YouTube involves several important considerations, including program policies, legal aspects, and privacy concerns. Here are key points to keep in mind. 1. Program policies. Check with your program. Many COP programs have specific guidelines about recording and sharing content publicly. It's essential to consult with your program coordinator to understand what is allowed. Permission for use. If your program allows recording, determine if you need permission to share footage publicly, especially if it includes other volunteers or community members. 4. Content guidelines. Appropriateness of content. Ensure that the content you plan to share aligns with community standards and the values of your COP program. No endorsement. Be clear that the views expressed in your videos are your own, and do not necessarily represent the views of the COP program or law enforcement. 5. Focus on purpose. Educational and informative. If sharing videos, consider focusing on educational or informative content about community safety, crime prevention, or the role of COP volunteers. Respectful representation. Ensure that your videos respectfully represent the community and the role of COP volunteers. 6. Communicate with supervisors. Inform your supervisors. If you intend to post videos on social media platforms like YouTube, inform your program coordinators or supervisors to ensure transparency and compliance with program policies. Conclusion. In summary, while you may be able to record your activities as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer and share them on YouTube, it is crucial to follow your program's policies, obtain necessary consents, and be mindful of legal and privacy considerations. Always prioritize the mission of the COP program and represent it positively in any public content you create. As a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, you typically do not have the authority to issue parking tickets or citations. Here are some important points to consider. 1. Role and authority. Limited authority. COP volunteers usually assist law enforcement by providing extra eyes and ears in the community, but they do not have the same legal authority as sworn law enforcement officers. No citation powers. Most COP programs do not grant volunteers the power to issue tickets or citations for parking violations or other offenses. 2. Reporting violations. Documenting issues. While you cannot issue tickets, you can document any parking violations you observe and report them to local law enforcement or parking enforcement officials for further action. Communication with authorities. If you notice repeated violations or safety concerns related to parking, you can communicate these observations to the appropriate authorities to address the issue. 3. Program guidelines. Check program policies. Each COP program may have specific guidelines regarding the actions volunteers can take. Familiarize yourself with your program's policies regarding enforcement and reporting. 4. Community education. Informing the public. COP volunteers may play a role in educating the community about parking regulations and safety, helping to raise awareness rather than enforcing rules directly. Conclusion. In summary, as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, you typically cannot give out parking tickets. Instead, your role is to assist law enforcement by reporting violations and helping to educate the community about parking regulations. Always refer to your program's guidelines for specific policies related to your duties. If you witness an attack or suspect that someone is in danger as a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, it's important to prioritize safety and respond appropriately. Here are the steps you should consider. 1. Assess the situation. Evaluate safety. Quickly assess the situation to determine the level of danger involved. Ensure your own safety first before intervening. Observe carefully. Take note of important details, such as the location, description of the individuals involved, and any vehicles present. 2. Call for help. Contact law enforcement. Immediately call 911 or your local emergency number to report the situation. Provide clear and concise information about what you observed. Give detailed information. Include specifics such as the location, description of the victim and the attacker, and any actions you've witnessed. 3. Intervene if safe. Only intervene if safe. If you feel it is safe to do so, you may consider intervening verbally to distract or de-escalate the situation. However, do not physically intervene unless you are trained and confident in doing so. Use your presence. Sometimes, your presence alone can deter an attacker. Approach the situation confidently and make your presence known. 4. Provide support. Check on the victim. If it is safe, approach the victim after the attacker has left or the situation has been resolved. Offer assistance and support. Encourage reporting. Encourage the victim to report the incident to law enforcement if they have not already done so. 5. Document the incident. Take notes. After the incident, document everything you witnessed, including descriptions of individuals, times, and any other relevant details. Submit a report. Report your observations to your COP program coordinators or local law enforcement for follow-up. 6. Follow up. Check for resources. Be aware of local resources that can assist the victim, such as shelters, counseling services, or victim advocacy groups. Debrief. After a traumatic incident, consider discussing your experience with your COP coordinators or fellow volunteers for support and guidance. Conclusion. In summary, if you witness an attack as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, your primary responsibility is to ensure safety, contact law enforcement, and provide support to the victim if possible. Always prioritize your safety and follow your program's guidelines for handling emergencies. As a Citizens on Patrol (COP) volunteer, chasing individuals on foot is generally not recommended and may be against program policies. Here are some important considerations. 1. Safety concerns. Personal safety. Chasing someone can put you at significant risk, as you may not know the individual's intentions or if they are armed. Your safety should always be your top priority. Injury risk. Running after someone could lead to injuries, both to yourself and others, especially in busy or unsafe areas. 2. Lack of authority. Limited authority. COP volunteers do not have the same legal authority as law enforcement officers. You cannot apprehend or detain individuals. Your role is primarily to observe, report, and assist law enforcement. No enforcement powers. Engaging in a chase may lead to legal complications or misunderstandings regarding your role and authority. 3. Proper protocol. Report to law enforcement. If you observe suspicious activity or believe someone is fleeing from a crime, the appropriate action is to report the situation to law enforcement rather than pursuing the individual yourself. Provide details. Relay any relevant details about the person and the situation to the authorities, including descriptions and direction of travel. 4. Focus on observation. Document suspicious behavior. Instead of chasing, focus on gathering information about the situation. Take notes on what you observe, including physical descriptions, vehicle information, and locations. Maintain communication. Stay in communication with your fellow volunteers and law enforcement to keep them informed of any developments. 5. Program policies. Check your program's guidelines. Each COP program may have specific rules about engagement and response to situations. Familiarize yourself with these guidelines and follow them closely. Conclusion. In summary, as a Citizens on Patrol volunteer, you should not chase individuals on foot. Instead, prioritize your safety, report suspicious activity to law enforcement, and follow your program's protocols for handling such situations. Your role is to observe and assist, not to engage in pursuits.